Thanks for joining. If you guys want to go ahead and ask questions, any comments in the chat, we're going to go through our information section here, and then towards the end, kind of like we always do, we're going to allow some time to answer those questions that you guys have submitted, and then also too, we'd love to interact with you, so definitely keep that in mind. If any questions do come up at a later date, you guys can always get. You just want to send to connect@depac.com, and that will go to either Tony or myself, and then we can follow up with you. We discuss some information a little bit more detail, or just kind of listen to what you have to say. We love to hear you guys. We love the interaction. And again, we appreciate you joining. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to flip it over here to Tony, and he's going to kind of go over some basic information and kind of how to start the process tonight.
Alrighty, thanks, Pete. Once again, my name is Tony here at DePaco Community Credit Union. It's nice to meet all of you this evening, and excited to share some information with you here. So we are going to kind of dive into some different ways to look at your debt maybe differently than you had in the past, and some great tips and tools to try to take control of that debt. So we're going to jump right in here. I'm going to turn my camera off and turn this full screen for you guys. So just one moment while I do that. So this first section here that we really want to discuss is how to make a debt repayment plan. So I don't know if you were able to watch our budgeting seminar last week, but or a couple of weeks ago, there's really kind of a way to start a foundation when you start looking at some of the debt that you have out there. Maybe you have only a few things, maybe you have some credit cards sprinkled out everywhere, maybe it's quite a few things. So really the first step is making a list of all of those debts that you have out there, whether that be, as I mentioned, credit cards, maybe some medical debt, student loan debt, could be quite a few different things out there. So it's really important to know what those balances are, how much you owe on each of those items, what the interest rates are, and what the minimum payments are. So all of that information is really going to help you once you get a full picture of what you have out there. So that second item there is to total up your minimum payments. This is going to kind of give you an idea then of what you're going to be making right now for those loan payments. And this is also going to help you see if you can realistically make extra payments or where exactly you can make extra payments. So it's kind of a great tool to see where you're at right now. It's kind of that big picture. That's where you need to start at the beginning. So it's kind of that foundation, really. Once you do that, there's going to be some different repayment strategies that you can look into, or different ways to structure that debt. So we're going to get into this in a lot more in greater detail. Pete's actually going to go into some different strategies that you can use, but this is just kind of an overview of that big picture. So some popular different strategies include what we like to call the Avalanche Method, and another one is called the Snowball Method. So Avalanche can consist of trying to pay some of your highest interest loans first. So getting highest interest loans taken care of, getting those knocked out, and then working down to some of your lower interest rates. So that might be taking care of credit cards, get those balances, and then getting into some lower interest rates. The other way of doing some debt reduction would be the Snowball Method, and that's where you take a lot of your lower payments, get those paid off, and then use that money that you use to pay off into other loans. So like I said, we will discuss that in much more detail. That's just kind of a high level. Another option is debt consolidation. That's one that a lot of people hear about, and that's when you're taking out a new loan to combine majority or all of your other debts that you have out there into one monthly payment. So those are kind of some different repayment strategies. So once you have a repayment strategy, you need to kind of prioritize your debts after that. So that way you can kind of figure out what exactly you want to pay, how you want to pay it, who you want to pay. So, and you're figuring out kind of that roadmap for getting those taken care of. You can start looking at dates like, I want to have this goal for taking this credit card. I want to have it paid off by this date. How much do I need to pay on it per month? And that's really going to start getting you a little bit of that light at the end of the tunnel for yourself. So it's really, really important to have goals while you're doing something like this. That way, you're not just kind of looking in the dark for answers, and you're actually able to create a strategy for yourself. So last thing there, you do have to look at your monthly payments, make sure you are making those minimum balances on all the loans. Even if you are making large payments, you still have to remember the small ones. And you know, the big thing is if you can continue to pay off debts, you're going to have more money to apply to the next one. And that's kind of where that snowball effect really comes into play. So I'm going to switch things over to Pete here to kind of chat. We have a second document here that I'm going to open up for us, and that really gets into those different repayment strategies. So let me bring that up for us here. All righty, Pete, I'm going to let you take over here.
Thanks, Tony. Awesome, guys. So now that we've kind of done the hard work, you know, we figured out a list of debts that we have. We figured out, you know, interest rates, balances, all that fun stuff. So now it's time to kind of get the ball rolling and take a plan of attack or a strategy to kind of repay these things or get these debts taken care of. So it's going to be three different strategies that we're going to kind of elaborate on here, starting kind of with a little bit easier and then getting a little bit more advanced. So we'll kind of chat about that. But the first one, like Tony had mentioned earlier, is going to be the snowball method. So the snowball method is we are going to, now that we have, again, the list of debts, we're going to prioritize those in order from the smallest balance to the highest balance. So we're going through all that information, and again, we are trying to determine, you know, credit card balances, maybe our car payments, student loans, whatever has the lower balance out of those things. That's kind of what we're going to tackle first with this. And like I said, this is a great strategy for beginners. You know, it's a great way to kind of help you stay motivated. I know in this day and age, it kind of seems like people really are into instant gratification. You know, if they're not seeing results right away, sometimes it's kind of hard to stay focused, and you kind of get, you know, down on yourself a little bit, and you're like, you know, maybe I don't want to do this. But again, the whole benefit with starting with those smaller balances first is you're going to see a lot more progress kind of right off the bat. Again, kind of tackling those smaller things first. So we're going to put as much money towards the debt with the lowest balance while we're still maintaining our minimum payments on our other debts, okay? And then once we have actually paid the initial or the first step off that we're trying to take care of, we then take that amount that we were paying on that first debt, and when we go to the next smallest balance, okay? And then whatever money that we were using on that first one then gets added to that minimum payment, again, of our second smallest balance. So that's kind of where it gets the name snowball. Once you kind of start going and once you take on or you tackle a couple of those, you're going to notice that later on you're going to be putting more money down faster as you kind of get through that process. So that's a great one. You know, like I said, if you're kind of starting off, if you like that instant gratification, if you want to kind of feel like you're going through a list and you're crossing those things off left and right, it's a great way to kind of build confidence and help you out getting those things taken care of. So that, again, that is the snowball method. Second, we are going to talk about the avalanche. So a couple similarities to the snowball. Obviously, once we have our debts figured out and arranged, then we're going to want to put them in order. How this differs from the snowball is we are going to prioritize these debts by the highest interest rate to the lowest interest rate, okay? The benefit of this is you're going to save money long term as you gradually pay off those higher interest rated loans, okay? This one can be a little bit more challenging. You know, again, I would say that this is probably the next step up from the snowball, just because, again, there isn't going to be that instant gratification. I mean, I kind of thinking of an example here, but my student loans would be a good example of this. So I have about 9 different student loans. And I kind of did this last year. I prioritized these, and I wanted to kind of take care of them via the Avalanche system here. So I have loans, you know, that are, you know, kind of around 1,000 to 2,000. I have a couple that are higher. and then a few that are actually higher than 3 and 4. So I started to tackle my $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 student loans, and just any amount of extra money I could get, I found myself kind of putting down on those. And like I said, it did take a little bit effort at first, and really had to stay focused and just kind of reminded myself that, hey, this method is going to take a little bit more time. You might not notice things happen, right away, but again, a little bit better benefit with this one actually, again, because from a mathematical standpoint, we are going to be taking care of the higher interest rates, which again, once we pay those off, you're going to see that we're paying less as that time goes on. So again, if you are a little bit more, I would say, eager to kind of get some of the dollar amounts paid down for more money back in your pocket, then I would definitely suggest the Avalanche method for that. Like I said, that's going to help you take care of the most expensive debts, but also having those larger balances. So finally, we are going to talk a little bit about consolidation. So consolidation is it's a simplified way to kind of put your financial situation in a better picture here. This is a great idea for people who they have multiple payments, they have multiple debts. They find that it can be hard to keep track of all those, what days they're coming out, the amounts, especially if they're, variable expenses, those things might change. So just kind of keeping track. So the benefit of a consolidation, it's going to take all those current debts that you have out there, and it's going to kind of roll them all into one in a sense, and you'll just have that one payment. So again, this is a great way to kind of help you stay a little bit more organized. Some things you kind of have to consider with this method, though, definitely is what your new interest rate is going to be. Now, if you have several debts out there, maybe you have a couple high interest rates, a couple low interest rates, you're looking to consolidate, and the new rate that you're going to get is actually going to be higher, then obviously that would not be a route you'd want to go. So we got to pay attention to those interest rates, and we kind of have to see, again, if that's making sense for us to do. So we have to check that information out. So those are going to be the different types of repayment strategies. A key factor in trying to decide what's going to work best for you is just kind of what motivates you more. Definitely take that into an account. And, like we kind of talk about too, you got to know yourself. You got to be honest. One thing that might work for me might not work best for the viewers, or vice versa. How you guys kind of tackle this or choose what route you want to go, that might work better for you guys. And like I said, you just kind of have to be honest with yourself. And you just got to try. Don't be afraid. If you don't succeed the first try. Finances can be intimidating. There's a lot of information out there, but that's what me and Tony are here for, and everyone else that works at Tobacco. If you guys have these questions, you need help like this, please don't hesitate. Reach out. We work with this stuff daily. So if you're kind of stuck on, I'm not sure what route I want to go. I'm not really sure what kind of goals I have in the future. Maybe if we can sit down with you, or we can kind of chat and get to know you, and kind of feel you out for what makes you tick, we can kind of help you better identify which route you want to go with that. So I'm going to go ahead and let Tony take it away here, and he's going to talk about some just other things to kind of help, living with debt, how to keep that stuff manageable, and some other things that we can do.
Hey, Pete, I do have a question for you before we move on. I apologize. It's on this section here. For people listening and looking on here, what do you recommend with savings? We're talking about trying to pay down debt, but is it important to keep some sort of savings as well while you're doing this?
Definitely, and that's a great question, Tony. I love questions. Keep them coming. We definitely don't want to deplete our emergency fund savings account by trying to tackle out debts. We have to be conscientious of what we call life happening. That's the reason why we save. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm not trying to scare anyone, but that's just something kind of proactive thinking that you kind of have to just to make sure that you're prepared and you're taking care of yourself with this stuff. So I know I've heard different things, you know, how much you should be saving each check, how much you should have in savings. 3 to 6 months worth of your expenses is a good idea to keep for an emergency fund. You know, that's just a good starting point. You know, let's say life does happen, you know, you get hurt, you get fired, you take a pay cut, some different situation like that, your bills don't stop coming in, but your pay could be affected by something like that. So, you know, we have to make sure that we are set up in case anything were to happen. So that's why it's important. Again, we don't want to be taking money out of the savings to kind of to tackle the debt consolidation or the debt repayments. You should be factoring that out of your budget, how much you're kind of willing, or how much you have to spend, I should say, each month on those things. So that's a great question, Tony. Thank you.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Pete. And I would say that, you know, this webinar series that we've offered, which the first two videos or webinars that we've done are out on YouTube, and we can certainly share that information with you. But they all build off of each other. You know, I think it's important first to have that budget, make sure that you're able to at least save something for yourself. And then the next piece is to kind of look over your credit to see what's out there. And then you can really dive into this, you know, looking into debt consolidation or debt management. So with that being said, I am going to go into another document here for us. And this one is going to discuss debt consolidation specifically. So let me get that up here. And it's going to talk about, is it the right thing for you? You know, just because it is out there doesn't necessarily mean it's something that you should be doing for yourself. So, you know, when you're really struggling, as this mentions, to get out from debt, any payment relief can really be a weight lifted. The thing is, though, is you have to make sure that that makes sense financially for your future. Just because something is less expensive does not mean it's going to be better. An example off the top of my head would be, you know, potentially looking at maybe you only have 10 or 15 years left on your house. You're able to consolidate maybe a little bit of debt into your mortgage, but then they, you know, pull you all the way back out to a 30-year mortgage. So now you're paying an extra 15 years on your home, and you're paying all of that extra interest. That might not be the best thing for you. It might be a lower monthly payment overall, and you might be able to save a little bit more now, but you also, as I mentioned earlier, you don't really have light at the end of the tunnel with that. So I think that word debt consolidation seems like it can be an end-all be-all for people, but you got to make sure that you're doing it the right way. So as we mentioned before, we kind of already described what that debt consolidation is. It's rolling multiple different debts into hopefully a lower interest rate and a lower monthly payment. And that's kind of making it convenient to have just that one monthly payment. So instead of paying 10 credit cards and 2 personal loans and, you know, your mortgage, it's one single payment. So how does it really work? It's really not a one size fits all. That is certainly true. It really depends on what your situation is. Maybe you're a homeowner. Maybe you have a car paid off. Maybe you don't have anything available for security, a car or home, but, you know, we're able to do a personal loan for you. So a couple of forms that we offer, maybe we can do some balance transfers onto one of our Visa credit cards. We offer a great rate there. Many store cards are anywhere from 20 to 30% interest rate. So you'll never get to that end of that paying that card down. If we can transfer that into a lower interest rate card, once again, you can kind of set it up a goal for yourself to have that paid off in a specific amount of time. A debt consolidation loan is another great thing. As I mentioned earlier, maybe we can use your vehicle as collateral, as what we call it in the financial industry. So we're using your paid off vehicle, or if there's some value there, and we're actually transferring some of your other debt, whether that be credit cards or medical bills, and we're using your vehicle as collateral for that loan. So what that does is that gives you a really, really good interest rate, and it's moving it back to that one payment, and it's putting a term on it. So when you have credit cards, there's really no term on that. You can continue to borrow and spend and pay and borrow and spend, but with this, you have one payment and it's going to be paid off in 4 or 5 years. So that's a great piece of information. Highly recommend trying to get revolving debt into an installment debt. So that means from non-monthly payment to something monthly that has that term to it. One last piece that you could do is a home equity line of credit. Once again, this is something specific to homeowners, so this does not apply to everyone. But if you do have some equity in your home, that's a great way, a great tool that you might be able to get a really low interest rate and pay off a bunch of debt in a small period of time. Personally, as a lender, I have helped multiple individuals do this where they have those credit card balances and we're able to use their home and pay those off. So this would be a separate loan from your mortgage. This is actually a secondary product on your mortgage where that home equity comes in. So when it says it's a line of credit, it does have an availability. So it's also great if you're doing things like home renovations is what a lot of people use it for, but it can be used to do things like pay off credit card debt. When does a debt consolidation not work? Obviously, if it's not saving you money, we kind of talked about that earlier. Another big thing for me with debt consolidation is there has to be buy-in from you as the borrower. You have to want to do this. You might say, oh, this is great. I can't wait to get all my credit cards paid off. I'm going to be able to start fresh. I'm not going to get back to using them. You know, once I have this one payment, it's going to be fantastic. And I've seen it happen where 6 months, a year, 2 years, life happens. You weren't budgeting, something came up, and now you're back into all of this credit card debt again. And now you're in a worse situation than you were before. So you really have to be honest with yourself. And DePaco is a great advocate and a great company, credit union to be able to rely on. You can come to us and we can really help you set your goals and your future up and make sure, you can rely on us to be there with you through the whole process. One really cool thing about debt consolidation is it can really help your credit score. So, if you have a bunch of credit cards out there, and this comes over from when we were doing our credit history lesson, maxed out credit cards can really hurt your credit score and really tie up your available capacity on your credit score. So once you pay those down, you're going to open up a great credit score for yourself. We might even be able to refinance your vehicle loans or maybe refinance a personal loan that you had because now your score has gone up. So it can really help you not only with that debt that you're trying to consolidate, but also in other areas of your credit score. So it's awesome to be able to kind of start yourself there. And then that's when you can go review your budget again. Maybe now you've freed up a couple $100s a month and you can really start knocking out that savings account outside of an emergency fund. So debt consolidation is a huge, huge vital piece as you continue on in your life of being able to kind of get yourself into that financial freedom and where you want to be. So one last piece that we're going to talk about here today is going to be how to live debt smart. So we discussed some of this in our last seminar, but I am going to go through just a few things here. Systematic savings. So once you're able to consolidate that debt and hopefully free up a little bit of money, that systematic savings then comes into place. And what that does is you're going to be able to save for unexpected things that pop up. So you're going to be able to maybe every 2 weeks out of your paycheck set aside $5, $10, or maybe $50 out of a paycheck and put that into a savings account where you're not going to touch it. So that's a great tool to be able to use. And then instead of relying on credit cards when something like your water heater goes out, you're going to have that money set aside in your savings account. A few other real quick things there. Consider buying used vehicles. I love that one. I think it's a treat yourself moment if you're able to buy a new vehicle, and that's fantastic if you can. But it's always great to see if you can find something used that's going to help you pay down much quicker. A big one, avoid payday lenders. So maybe you are falling into a situation where you need some money again. Please, 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 if you are a DePaco member, and even if you are not, we would love to help you look into a personal loan before you ever consider going to a payday lender. It's a bad cycle that you can get into, and it can certainly happen. We're not saying you're a bad person for it happening, but we'd love to try to help you get out of that situation. So You know, one last thing too, this is my favorite, the little smiley face on the screen here. Consider what can make you happy. So I think it's very important to budget for things that make you happy. I do that before I make anything else on my budget. So as you're starting to live debt smart and you're able to consolidate debt, make sure you have money for what you enjoy doing. You don't have to make sure every penny goes somewhere. So I think that's a fun little piece there at the end of this. And as we've mentioned in all of our previous seminars, we love to help people out. Money makeovers are a big, big success story for DePaco, and anything we can do to help members and non-members find that financial success, we certainly will help you. So, you know, Pete and I are money makeover experts. We can help you look at where you're at right now and maybe where you need to go for the future. So this is just kind of general information, but we certainly have a lot more information that can be specific to you. So that's some information that we have just kind of on trying to take control of what you have out there for debt, and then also kind of some ideas on debt consolidation. So I'm gonna get rid of my screen here for a second and say hi to you guys again here on the camera. So Pete, we definitely are thankful for everyone that joined us with us today, and just if you have any thoughts here for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like what you said, Tony. We really appreciate you guys tuning in. You know, we love doing this. We love helping people. We love getting to know you. You know, we wouldn't be working at DePaco if that's not what we weren't passionate about. So, again, just really want to thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure, if you haven't already, register for next week's session. It's going to be, are you ready to buy a house? So if you haven't registered yet, you can do that at www.depaco.com/events. So if you've already done it, we appreciate it. If not, you can do that again, www.depaco.com/events. Another thing I want to talk to you guys about, I know the first session we broadcasted live from the Cascade Innovation Lab. That's located downtown Cascade. Actually, next Friday, we're going to be having an open house, so October 9th. We're going to run it. I believe it's from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. So it's a way for you guys to come out. You guys can meet me and Tony personally if you're interested. I don't know if you are or not, but it's a great way to kind of also get a kind of behind the scenes look of what we got cooking up at the lab, kind of a little tour. You know, if you guys are interested in asking any questions at that time, we're going to have some people available, myself and Tony included. So we would love to see you guys there. You know, we're planning on doing that hopefully a couple times a year throughout the year, just again, depending on what's kind of going on, what they're permitted, and also pandemics. So we want to kind of try and, like I said, just kind of bring awareness that we have this awesome located in Cascade now. So be sure you do that. If you guys are interested, like Tony had stated, about possibly getting in touch with him or myself, looking at the opportunity to kind of sit down with us, maybe go over a money makeover, just kind of chat about any financial goals you do have, anything can kind of help you out with that. Please reach us at connect@depaco.com if you're interested in that. Now we are going to stay on here for a little bit. That is all the information that we have specific to the topic, but we do want to leave it open for questions. We like to kind of, like I said, be interactive with you guys. So if you guys are thinking of anything, Tony, you're going to hang out here for a little bit, feel free to drop a comment, let us know what you're thinking, how you're feeling. But if you don't have anything, you know, again, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully we'll see you next week, and then also at the open house this coming Friday, October 9th. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. All right, it does look like we have a question here just to kind of share where the rest of the information is for those sessions. So I'm just going to bring up the webinar series here and have the events. So just one moment, let me get that up for you, Brenda.
While Tony is doing that, Kelly, I saw that you commented, will these slides be available? we would be more than happy to send them out to you. This is information that me and myself were using during these web series when we do presentations, different lunch and learns. We should have your email address, and I can definitely make sure to send those out to you. And anyone else, feel free to comment if you'd like access to that information as well.
Yeah, Pete, and I apologize. I was able to connect with Kelly, and we got her email, so we are good to go there.
Great. I love that member experience. Good job.
Exactly. Thanks, Brenda. We look forward to seeing you here at the future series of the rest of the 3 we got going.
Tony, you going to be bringing the flowers in tonight?
Oh, are we getting down to freezing?
I heard they were supposed to. It was supposed to be like that yesterday, I should say, last night. I'm only anticipating it getting colder here, so we'll see. Hopefully not. Hopefully it holds off for a little bit.
I never thought I'd be talking about covering up flowers and how nice my lawn looks right now, and worried about making sure my trim was all painted this summer. It's amazing the older you get, the things that you care about that you never thought you would.
Yeah, tis the season for the heat bill, right? Got to be conscientious of that, especially with talking about budgeting and savings. We better be on top of that.
And Sean asked if it's going to be available on YouTube, and we're going to send Sean. We have, if you registered, we did get an email from you, so we're going to send the link out for the YouTube video to everyone. Otherwise, you can search the DePaco page, which is flat dollar, correct?
Flat dollar.
For DePaco?
Yep, and that's one word, flat dollar, no space.
I'll put that in the comment.
Just search that right on YouTube, and that'll pull up DePaco's channel. So not only do we have our web series on there, that'll be posted following day. We also have a lot of other cool videos, a lot of information out there, a lot of different things. So, definitely take advantage of that stuff as well. DePaco is always pushing out new content just to try and make finances a lot easier for you and a lot less stressful. So definitely check that out.
Yes. So looks like we have a few people still on here, Pete. So we'll see if we get any more questions straggle in here, but. I should have a real barn burner of a football game tonight too. The Jets and the Broncos, huh?
Seems like these Thursday night games, they just keep getting better. The Dolphins, Bengals, and top it off with the Broncos and the Jets. Really promising teams.
Yeah. I think I'd rather watch paint dry.
Don't tempt me.
All right. So it looks like we. Well, I think we'll call it a night, everybody. If you are still joined here, it doesn't look like we have any other questions or any other comments at this point. So we will hope to see you again next week.